All right. Happy Veterans Day. Even though this is filmed now the next day, it's basically Wednesday now because it is late in the night. I just finished watching NXT. Let me say this to any veterans that's been watching this video or watch me. Happy Veterans Day. Anybody who's served, give you my respect. I give respect because I understand what you've done. Not everybody will understand, but I do. Doesn't mean I've been a veteran. And I don't know if I have any relatives who actually managed to serve. I only have one relative who did try to serve, but unfortunately passed away while trying to go through training. So I don't know if I have any relatives who's ever served. But anyone who has, you have my respect. Now, what do we get for this video about to go into Gold Rush and then after that, Deadline? This is going to be very interesting. The question isn't going to be about how good Gold Rush is going to be. The big question is what these last two shows are going to give us before the end of the year. Because remember, after Deadline, we're not going to probably get anything. Remember, they stop filming. They don't do anything generally, unless they're going to actually do something. They're going to give us something better than what we had in the last couple of years, which has just been basic repeats or best of. If we actually get good content, even though it's pre-recorded, the question is going to be, what does this give us going into 2026? Because we only got two shows left. That's Gold Rush and Deadline. Let me say this. The three shows, how can I say this? The matches we got here were more like shows than anything else. A Grande Americano versus Jasper Troy. Now, I didn't remember that, well, technically, I hadn't really kept up to see if Ludwig Kaiser had stopped doing Grande Americano, but someone did say he is still doing it. The boy looks like this now. He looks a lot more leaner, muscled. Let me give you like this. Did I expect Grande Americano to win? Nope. This is Jasper Troy. He makes Grande Americano look like a little kid. Even though he's as tall as him, he's a skinny-ass man who didn't stand a chance against this guy, and he got his ass whooped. They really have a lot of interest in Jasper Troy. Do I believe this is the wisest thing to do for Jasper? Yes, because the speed title is here. This is where the speed title is. If you do put the X Division in here, this is speed title. It's right here. So I have no problem seeing Jasper have the lowest tier title. This actually will give us a good chance to see if he can actually handle it. Now, of course, when we heard him talking after the match was over, it was a 5-minute match. It was 5 minutes, not 3 minutes, but 5. He was talking pretty well until Dark State came out and interfered with that, and I'll talk about that when it comes to Devon Evans and a little bit of the Leon Slater, the dynamic duo of professional wrestling. I'm gonna call them that for now. But I kind of wish they had not cut him off with Dark State. Honestly, I wish they had not done it. I wished that if they did do it, that Jasper would go up in their face and say, "What the hell you think you're doing? I'm a damn champion. Don't disrespect me." But they didn't do that. That's just me. Second match. Do I care about Alba Fire wrestling? No. At this point, she's a joke. And that doesn't mean I don't like her. She's basically booked as the Secret Herbist, which pretty much is a joke at this point. Piper Nivens isn't there. That's all that's left. She's all that's left. And she just feels empty. She actually wasn't too bad. I kind of wished that Piper, Alba, and I know this would make no sense because she is in the White Six. A little bit of Nikki Cross being part of the Secret Herbist. That would have been something interesting. All these women that are European, where you got one Scot, one Irish woman, and one Canadian. I think that would have been interesting. But do I care about Alba? No. But do I care about Thea working with Joe Henry? No, but then yes. It's a weird kind of dynamic. Joe and Thea actually have a very strange dynamic right now. You guys tell me below, don't they look like they should be dating? Yeah, I know Joe is much older than she is. I think he's about 30 at this point, and Thea's in her early 20s. But some weird reason, it kind of looked like they would be a good couple. And the way it looks, having them as mixed tag champions, I wouldn't be too surprised putting them together because they have a weird kind of chemistry. It seems weird that they have this type of chemistry together, but they do have chemistry. And the match itself was okay. In the end, Thea wins, and they're going to have their mixed tag championship, the AAA mixed tag championship, at Gold Rush. Do I care about the mixed tag championship at AAA? No. But it is giving, well, it is giving all four of them something to do. And I'm not expecting Joe Henry to go after well, right now, I don't see him going after North American Championship, and I definitely don't see Thea going after the U.S. title. Unless she's going to the main roster, she ain't going after that title. Moving on. Fallon Henley goes up against Skylar Ray, I believe that's her name, from LFG. I did not expect her to lose badly. I knew she wasn't going to win, but I didn't expect her to lose badly. She's not a bad wrestler, and she's got hype around her. She's not like Taya. Taya Steele, because of her gold medal, gives her more hype, even though she has no personality or charisma. And when it comes to Skylar Ray, I'm like, if that's her name, I'm trying to remember. She is... Let me give it to you like this. She didn't look bad. She wrestled pretty well. But I didn't expect her to job heavily. She was going to job. Just not too bad to Fallon Henley, which she did. I'm not surprised. But this is me. I'm going to say this. What does she actually offer more than Kiana Jordan? What does she actually offer more than Soruka, which I'll talk about in a minute? Nothing. Here's the problem. You now have 3 women on the current NXT roster that are former gymnasts or tumblers, if I remember correctly. And the key here, gymnasts or 2 gymnasts, and I do believe she might have been a cheerleader, and a very, very prominent one is that. And I think that's Skylar. Skydale or Skylar, I think that's her name. Now you got 3 of them. 3. How do you differentiate the 3? Yes, the one who's now currently TNA champ, she had to bust her butt to try and make herself different from Soruka. And now we got another one. What is she going to do different than Soul or Jordan? I don't know. She's got to come up with a different type of personality. Something different. Because if you're going to compare skill as a gymnast or as a cheerleader who can tumble or do gymnastic stuff, they're all going to be the same. So she's got a lot of work ahead of her. Briggs versus Tavion Heights. Let me give it to you like this. Do I believe the feud's over? No. Do I care about the feud? No. But the question's going to be, are they going to finally pull the trigger on Josh Briggs and bring him to the main roster? I don't know. I have this strange feeling that by next year he's going to be released. Doesn't mean I don't like him. It's just going to depend on if they're going to actually do something with him by the time of next year. Because at this point, his partner's already gone. Fallon Henley is a fatal influence. Unless they pull the trigger on him now, they're going to probably just let him go. And let's talk about what did we really get with Tatum Paxley's segment with JC James. More questions than answers. It feels like when it comes to Izzy Dane, I still believe that Izzy should have been the one who had the shot at the title more than once and failed more than once and then let Tatum do it. Now I know that she went after at least once, but it doesn't feel like it's enough because ever since Jensen was released and they started pushing Izzy more, it feels like that she needed more before Tatum had this opportunity to become champ. And yes, Tatum's very popular. I like her myself. But it does not mean the story feels correct. To me personally, it feels like it's lacking. Even though it's not a bad story, it feels like it's lacking. And seeing go up against JC James, it feels like there's something missing from it. So now, Gold Rush, you're going to have Tatum versus JC James. But does that finally mean we're going to get something from Izzy Dane? I don't think so. I think when it comes to Izzy, if it's not going to happen at Deadline, it's definitely not going to happen here. And if it doesn't happen at Deadline or here, when does it happen? When Izzy basically says, screw this, I'm going to turn on Tatum, I'm going to destroy Tatum because she's stupid, and I am going to go after the damn title myself. And Tatum's going to be on her own, again, without the culling. That's how it feels, unless the culling's going to stick with Tatum and Izzy's going to be off on her own, which is a possibility, but I don't think so. I think the culling's going to turn heel, because they're acting like good guys right now, to a certain extent. It just feels like that. Now, the Blake Monroe segment. Seeing Blake Monroe, good girl, and Blake Monroe, bad girl, talking to each other. It almost feels like you're supposed to have the real Blake Monroe in the middle, and you got the girly girl Blake Monroe on one side here, and the really evil one like that. Like, kind of like if anybody remembers Emperor's New Groove. And you got Kronk, and you got the good Kronk, the bad Kronk. And the only time you'll ever see them truly come together is when Kronk is insulted and told his what was it? Not cheese puffs. What is it? I can't remember what the puffs were. They were a puff, and Yzma didn't like them. I'm like, that's what would have been better. Not saying it was bad, but seeing that the good Blake girl in pink, the one we know, wants to be loved, wants to be champion, and then the evil hell one is trying to say, let me join you. It kind of feels like they needed the real Blake in the middle, in between the two, and she's trying to decide which one is really correct here, and then realize they were both correct. They both fade, and the true Blake Monroe shows herself. That's what I think would have been better. That's just me. But the segment still was pretty good. Also, when you see, briefly, I'm going to talk about Jordan. And what she said, not bad. But I'm like, at this point, do I actually want to see Jordan Grace, which I don't think she will become champ, but do I want to see Jordan Grace as TNA Knockouts title holder, title champ? No. She should not be going for that title. She should not be getting that title. The only reason they would do this is because something is wrong in TNA, and they're making a request, hey, can we have her run with the title for a little bit, because we're having a little bit of a problem. As much as I love Jordan Grace, I just don't want to see her as TNA champ. I'm sorry. Devon Evans. The young OG and the young in charge have been working together for a while now. The dynamic duo, as I'm calling them. Let's make it clear. We're just going to call them the dynamic duo. That it makes perfect sense to call them that. The D&D, the dynamic duo, the dynamic and the duo. There you go. But let me give you like this. Seeing they're going to go after the NXT tag titles actually makes sense. If you want to keep showing that TNA and NXT are working together, have one of the most not charismatic in NXT. His charisma has grown much better than it was when he first started as Devon. Devon's charisma is much better. It's more focused, because when he first came in, I was bouncy, was not enough. He needed to become more varied with his charisma. Now he sounds much better. Then you have the young in charge, who legitimately, you think he wouldn't talk good, but he's been talking actually very well from the time he's been working in TNA. He actually sounds more developed, with more charisma, more skill to talk. They both talk pretty much streets. The streets of London and the streets in the United States. There's the UK streets and United States streets. They're basically the same. Just some of the words are different. But you can hear in Devon Evans is not as developed to make it really feel important as is with Leon Slater. It just sounds more developed. But now they're both very similar. Both know how to talk. And now they're going after the tag titles from Dark State. if they win, which they should, actually would make things more interesting for TNA and NXT, because then you're going to have the charisma along with very good wrestling from both of them if they choose to start trying to defend it on TNA or NXT. Because you're going to have one stick with the other because they're tag champions. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's a wise thing to do. And also, when you see the Titantron and you think that Leon Slater's not there, but he actually is there, and then both of them diving out of the ring, and Leon Slater loses his purple sneakers, jumping back into the ring and running around, and he loses one of his sneakers. It pops right off. It was a little funny, but not too bad. I can say the segment was all right. Here's the thing now. It's over, but is it for Trick? I think that's the key here. It's over, but is it over for Trick? That might be the best way to say it. This last man standing match for Trick Williams versus a Ricky Saints. It's a good last man standing match. It wasn't the greatest I've ever seen, but it was a good one. And I did enjoy it. But now the big question here is this. And yes, Ubafemi shows up after we see a little bit of the Tricky laid out on the floor, couldn't answer the 10. Seeing Ricky jumps into the ring after he wins, and then Ubafemi's shadow going like this. And he's back. But what about Trick? What does this finally mean for Trick Williams? And this is my feelings. Trick Williams now has done everything he can do. There's only one last thing he can do. One, he's been North American champion. He's been world champion. The only thing left to try and do, next to being a TNA champ, is to go after the tag titles. That's it. There's nothing left for him to do. Nothing. I don't see Trick Williams taking away the North American Championship from Ethan Page. I just don't see that. He's not going to go after that. He's not going after the speed title for Jasper. Jasper is here. Are we going to bring Trick down here? No. Either he's going to leave the roster and go to Raw or SmackDown, or he's going after the tag titles. And he's going to have a partner that he's going to pick that's going to best reflect him in trying to get those titles. If they're not ready to bring him to the main roster, and I know he's not fully developed yet, but he is developed enough that if they did it now, he could probably make it work. I'd rather see it next year. But the thing is that, what does he do? Either he goes after the tag titles, because he's not going after Ubafemi, that would be dumb. He's not going back after Ricky, that'll be dumb. The best option would be to go into the tag division with somebody, try to get the tag titles, which he can do, and then wait a little bit into next year, and then draft in a Raw or SmackDown. But this is just me. Hope you enjoyed this NXT. Well, I think I already said the title. Peace.